You've heard of JPMorgan Chase,
Yeah.
right? I mean, who hasn't? This financial giant seems to be everywhere, but have you ever stopped to think about how they got so big?
It's a fascinating story, really.
It really is. Today we're diving deep into the history of JPMorgan Chase.
We're going to uncover how this financial titan rose from humble beginnings to become a global powerhouse.
And believe me, the story is full of ambition, risk, and more than a few twists and turns.
It's not your typical Wall Street fairy tale.
Definitely not. In fact, it doesn't even start on Wall Street. Get ready for this. The story of JPMorgan Chase begins with a founding father and a water company.
Now that's a curveball.
Right. It's 1799, and we meet Aaron Burr.
Yes.
That Aaron Burr, the one who later goes on to duel with Alexander Hamilton.
Quite a character to kick off our story.
Tell me about it. He establishes the Manhattan Company, but it wasn't a bank at first. It was a water company.
Interesting.
Yeah, Burr was granted a charter to supply water to New York City, and this charter had a very important clause. It allowed him to use any surplus capital for transactions in business.
Ah, I see where this is going.
Exactly. This seemingly innocuous clause became Burr's golden ticket. You see, he wasn't just interested in quenching thirst. He was playing the long game.
He saw an opportunity to establish a financial foothold, and he seized it.
Exactly. Burr used this clause to establish a bank within his water company, effectively circumventing the strict banking regulations of the time.
Now that's some savvy maneuvering, using a water company as a Trojan horse to enter the world of finance.
It really is. And this, my friends, is where the story of JPMorgan Chase begins, not on Wall Street, but with a water company and a founding father, with a knack for spotting an opportunity.
It's a testament to the fact that the roots of power can often be found in the most unexpected places.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Fast forward now to 1871, when a new player enters the scene, John Pierpont Morgan, or, as the world would come to know him, J.P. Morgan.
Now there's a name synonymous with American finance.
Absolutely. But unlike Burr, Morgan doesn't start a company. He starts with something even more potent, his reputation.
Reputation is everything in the world of finance.
You got that right.
Yeah.
This guy was considered a financial prodigy, known for his sharp mind, ruthless ambition, and unwavering belief in the power of American industry.
He had a knack for spotting opportunities and wasn't afraid to take risks.
And boy, did he take risks. He quickly rose to prominence by financing some of the biggest and most transformative companies of his time. We're talking railroads, steel, electricity, you name it, Morgan was there.
He bankrolled the titans of industry, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts.
Exactly. And in doing so, he wasn't just shaping companies, he was shaping the very fabric of American industry.
He understood that capital was the lifeblood of progress, and he wasn't afraid to wield that power.
He wasn't just a banker, he was an architect of the American economy. Remember those times J.P. Morgan bailed out the U.S. government?
Not once, but twice, during the Panic of 1907 and again in 1895.
Talk about a power move. This wasn't just about making money anymore. It was about wielding influence on a national scale.
It really shows the immense power these financial figures were amassing, even back then. It makes you wonder if anything has really changed.
That's a great question, and it's something we'll be exploring further as we continue our deep dive into the history of J.P. Morgan Chase. From a founding father's water company to the rise of J.P. Morgan, it's clear that this is a story about more than just money. It's about ambition, power, and the very forces that have shaped the world we live in today. Last time, we left off with J.P. Morgan cementing his place as a titan of American finance, but his story is just the beginning. Now get ready for a whole new era, one filled with mergers, acquisitions, and the relentless pursuit of growth.
It's like watching a financial game of chess, with each move carefully calculated to create a true powerhouse.
And these weren't just any mergers, these were game changers. First up, in 1955, we see a blast from the past. Aaron Burr's old stomping grounds, the Bank of the Manhattan Company.
Ah, bringing it back full circle.
Right, well, it gets absorbed by Chase National Bank, and boom, Chase Manhattan Bank is born.
It was a major power play, giving them an undeniable stronghold in New York City. But they weren't done yet.
Not even close. Fast forward to 1996, and a new player enters the scene, Chemical Bank. Now, these guys were known for something called leveraged buyouts, which, to be honest, sounds a little intimidating.
Well, it's not for the faint of heart. Imagine using borrowed money, and we're talking massive loans, to buy another company.
Oh, okay, so they're basically using debt as a weapon to grow their empire. Risky.
High risk, but potentially high reward if those acquired companies rake in the profits. And in the case of Chemical Bank, their gamble paid off.
Because they set their sights on Chase Manhattan.
They did, and in a move that surprised many, they decided to keep the Chase name after the merger. Talk about brand recognition.
I guess everyone already knew the name Chase. It just made good business sense. But the biggest shakeup was yet to come.
This is where things get really interesting.
2000 rolls around, a new millennium, and with it, the dawn of a true financial giant. Chase Manhattan merges with JPMorgan & Co., uniting two of the most iconic names in Wall Street history.
This wasn't just about getting bigger, it was about creating a financial powerhouse that could do it all. Chase brought their expertise in retail banking, serving everyday customers, while JPMorgan & Co. brought their investment banking prowess, dealing with big corporations and Wall Street deals.
So they created the ultimate one-stop shop for all things finance.
Exactly. They had their hands in everything, from managing your checking account to orchestrating multi-billion-dollar mergers. They had become a force to be reckoned with.
And every good force needs a leader, and in 2004, they got theirs.
Jamie Dimon, a rising star in the world of finance, takes the helm after the merger with Bank One.
This is where JPMorgan Chase, as we know it, truly begins to take shape, right?
Absolutely. Dimon is known for his sharp mind, his focus on efficiency, and frankly, his ability to make tough decisions. He's been called a visionary, a maverick, and even a bit of a Wall Street rock star.
And under his leadership, JPMorgan Chase has navigated financial crises, weathered scandals, and emerged as, well, the biggest bank in America.
It's a remarkable story of ambition, risk, and the relentless pursuit of growth.
But as we'll see in the next part of our deep dive, all that growth comes at a price. We've journeyed from the streets of early New York to the towers of Wall Street, witnessing the rise of JPMorgan Chase.
From a water company to a financial colossus, it's been quite a ride.
And as we enter the 21st century, things get even more interesting and, well, a little shakier. Remember 2008?
The financial crisis. How could we forget?
It was a make-or-break moment for many financial institutions, but not quite for JPMorgan Chase.
They went on a shopping spree, really, scooping up Bear Stearns, Washington Mutual.
Right, with a little help from the government, of course. Remember TARP?
The Troubled Asset Relief Program. I think everyone was getting a bailout back then. But here's the thing, JPMorgan Chase didn't need it as desperately as some of the others.
So why'd they take it?
That's the million-dollar question. Were they strong-armed into it, seen as a stabilizing force, or did they see an opportunity to solidify their dominance?
It makes you wonder about the fine line between averting disaster and, well, capitalizing on it. But even for giants, there are always risks, right?
2012 proved that. Enter the London whale.
Ah, yes, the whale that swallowed billions. Wasn't that about some kind of complicated financial bet?
Credit default swaps. Basically insurance on debt, but way riskier. Imagine one trader betting billions on whether companies would default on their loans.
And
He guessed wrong. Big time. $6 billion wrong. JPMorgan Chase took a massive hit, the markets reeled, and suddenly, even the mightiest seemed vulnerable.
talk about a wake-up call.
It exposed the underbelly of these massive institutions, the risks hidden in plain sight. And then there were the scandals.
Right. It wasn't just financial missteps, was it? There was that whole string of lawsuits and settlements.
Mortgage practices, accusations of rigging markets, even whispers of shady dealings. It seemed like every other month, JPMorgan Chase was in the headlines for the wrong reasons.
It's almost like that old saying, the bigger they are,
The harder they fall.
not necessarily fall, but they definitely attract more scrutiny.
And rightfully so. When you
Okay.
have that much power, that much influence over the global economy, the stakes are incredibly high.
And the question becomes, can any institution, no matter how big, truly balance profit with responsibility?
It's a question that has no easy answers. JPMorgan Chase tries, of course, the sponsorships, the philanthropy.
Right, they're backing everything from the U.S. Open to building art centers.
Trying to build goodwill, maybe even atone for past sins. Whether it's genuine or just good PR is up for debate.
I guess that's for each of us to decide. So where does this leave us?
At a crossroads, I'd say. JPMorgan Chase's story is still being written. They're a product of ambition, of risk, of the relentless churn of capitalism itself.
They've shaped the world we live in, for better or worse. And as we wrap up this deep dive, it's worth asking ourselves, what role do we want these financial giants to play in our future? Are they forces for progress, or are they the embodiment of a system that often prioritizes profit over everything else? It's something to think about the next time you see that JPMorgan Chase logo.